Today's guest is known as the gender expert. She's an international speaker, 4 times best-selling author, radio show host, and she is known also as a transformational executive coach. I am so pleased to introduce to you my friend and my mentor, Judy Hoberman.
Oh, thank you, Faith. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, I'm so grateful that you're here. And I want to talk about leadership and all things. But first, let's lay the groundwork. Tell everyone what you do right now.
Right now. So I am an executive coach. I am a trainer. I'm sales and leadership. I am a motivator, accountability partner, and most of all, I'm a connector. And I love to make sure that I connect the right people with the right people, because you never know what that simple hello is going to do and what it's going to bring in return.
And I can testify to that you're a very thoughtful connector. You don't just connect people. So I think that makes all the difference, especially when we're out there meeting so many people.
Right.
You don't want just 1,000 connections coming into your inbox. Now, while you're working alongside leaders, and we'll get to the gender part too, what are some commonalities that you're seeing that you have to really come alongside people? When are you motivating them? Is it the kind of self-doubt that you have to address? Is it speaking up or confidence? Is there something that really stands out across the board?
I think all of that stands out, but it's very interesting. It doesn't matter what industry, it doesn't matter what age, it doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter any of that. Women especially, are struggling with time, because time is our most limited resource. And so in that time, you have the imposter syndrome. I don't have time to learn this. I don't have time to do this. I'm not enough of this. So the time really encapsulates almost everything that we do. And when I do surveys, the number one challenge people have is time. Number 2 comes down to confidence and imposter and all of that. But number 1 is always, I can't figure out this, work-life balance thing, which of course we know there isn't one. But that's, everybody's struggling to find this elusive thing. Where am I going to find this balance? How do I put this together? That is the number one struggle of all women, and men as well, but all women, no matter what it is, because I do things with, healthcare and financial services and, crazy different industries. That's always number 1.
It does not surprise me at all.
Well,
and I love to tell myself that there is enough time in the day. But what tips do you have on time? Is it time management, or what word would you put on that?
It could be time management, time structure, maximizing your time. It could be any of those. But the one thing you have to remember is time is about priorities. Mm-hmm. You have got to decide, what do I have to get done? And who do I have to take care of? And then the next part would be, what would I like to do? What do I need to do? But not that I have to do. And once you figure out the have tos, those are your priorities. That you have to go to work. That's a priority. You have to take care of your children. That's a priority. So then you identify that, and then you prioritize that list. So that's the biggest thing I would say, is know your priorities. Mm-hmm. Once you do that, then you're pretty much on some kind of level playing field with yourself, because that's who you're struggling with. And it's not always about time management. A lot of it's managing yourself. It's not always saying, I don't have enough time, I do have enough time, I'm getting this done, I'm not getting this done, I'm organized, I'm not organized. What are we able to do? Because you only have control of what you're able to do, of what you choose to do. And it's about choices.
So as specific as it sounded, to just prioritize, I think the instinctive thing is, yes, well, and I have 27 priorities, especially as a working mother. I can relate to so many people who just say, well, yeah, but I can't eliminate anything. All of these are must-dos. So how do you help your clients or the leaders that you come alongside to really navigate and understand how to prioritize all those top priority things?
Not everything has the same value of priority. And that's the first thing you have to realize, that yes, I have to get this report done, and yes, I have to do this, but what really, in what order, what date, what time? And that's the first way to do it. For me, I have a list. I'm a list person. I love lists because I get to check things off. But I list things, and then I go back and I prioritize them. I put the number, this is number 1, this is number 2. It could be the date something's due. It could be the time of year, all these different things. You can't have 27 things. You can't, because you're not going to get them done. And you look at it and already you're saying to yourself, I'm overwhelmed. And that's not going to help you at all with maximizing your time or time structure or time management, whatever you want to call it. So for me, I just make sure I have the list, and this is what I always tell people. It's a list. It's something that you control, and then you itemize and prioritize, and you take care of one thing and knock it off your list. The other thing is you can't multitask, because you think you're getting everything done, but nothing's getting done 100%. And if it's not 100%, you can't check it off. That's my rule.
And it feels so good to check it off.
That's right. And that's what you want to do. You want to finish something completely so you can get on to the next.
Now, I think that we still have this culture that kind of glorifies multiple pursuits. So a lot of times we'll see somebody in a daytime career with some kind of side hustle or multiple side hustles, or entrepreneurs that are chasing 5 different things. Is that okay? Is there a magic number to how many things people should be focusing on? And I mean, I can only imagine the pace that you can go because that's basically multitasking. So do you have thoughts around that?
Well, first I would say don't multitask. But second, I would say, for me and for a lot of marketing people, they'll tell you the number 3. Everything should be around a number 3. You can't physically, mentally, emotionally complete something when you have 27 things. So if you have 3 things, whether it's a side hustle, whether it's getting things done, I always do 3. Like when I go to a networking event, I want to make sure I meet 3 people. Not 1 because it's too little, not 5 because it's too many, but 3. You can do 3. Everybody can do 3. So when you go above that, now you're going into this uncharted territory of, how am I going to get this done? I can't get this done. But if you had 3 and you wiped 1 out, you can always bring another one in. Still 3.
Do they have to all be of the same type of focuses?
It can't be, because not everything is as important. Is there anything more important than your children?
No.
Okay. You can stop right there. Because when you try to put all these things together and say, well, I have all these things I have to get done, and something happens where you get a call from the school and that says, your child scraped a knee and we think he needs stitches. Are you going to say, hang on, I have 2 other things that are really important, so I'm going to make that 3rd. It's not. You can't. This is all life. Life happens. And, and life happens with you and to you and for you and all those other things, but it's priorities. And it's the choices you make to do your priorities. You know me, I always say that family is number 1. Family has to be number 1. If somebody did something to my children, the curtain goes down, I'm done. That's my priority. I can't open that curtain up again, because then I'm allowing myself to say, well, that really wasn't a priority. This was my priority,
Yeah, I can see that. Now, as the gender expert, you have a lot to say on what you're seeing between the 2. And I love that when you talk about your journey in working with both genders to support each other, there's a lot of humor in that. You have developed a lot of humor just around the thought processes of both sides. Is there something that really stands out to you that is actually very different or very much the same?
So here's a profound statement. Men and women are different. Okay, funny, serious, men and women are different. They are. Everything we do is different. We might have the same values, we might have the same results, but everything is different. The way we communicate, the way we ask questions, the way we buy, the way we sell, the way we work together, everything is different. When you look at the differences, 9 times out of 10, maybe 9.5 times out of 10, the differences can be seen as assets rather than liabilities. You have a man who is very transactional, you have a woman who's very relational, or it could be opposite, but let's use that because that's where the numbers are. If you have a man that is very transactional and gets to the bottom line quicker, that might be something you need to learn. If you're a female and you tell stories and you talk about all the relationships that you have and you're doing really well and successful, he might need to know that. So what if we put those together? And that's really what it is. It's really understanding that the differences are differences. No right, no wrong, no better, no worse, but take the differences and use them as assets.
Is it enough to notice, or do we need to put names on the different things that are standing out between the 2 genders?
Sometimes right there. It's so obvious. And sometimes it isn't. And so you have to say, I wonder why he did that, or I wonder why she did that. But you take shopping, for instance. Men will shop, they'll buy the thing that they need, and that's all they do. Women will shop and they'll buy everything that goes along with that. The dress, the necklace, the shoes, everything, because we like the whole story. Now, if a man walks into a store to buy a tie, he's buying a tie. He's not buying the shirt, he's not buying anything else, and you're thinking like, well, you're already here, why don't you just do the whole thing? It's not who they are. Their brains are wired differently. It's all different, but it's not right or wrong. So you do the things that make sense. And again, it's about the choices that you make. I would say that for me, in business, a male leader is very different than a female leader. Very different. They have, certain qualities that they're known for, and women have the same qualities, but then some. We are more of the people, the power skills, they're calling it now. It's not even people skills anymore or soft skills, it's now power skills.
Oh,
yeah, I know.
I learned something.
Yeah. So, for a woman to be generous and empathetic and, make sure that she's resilient and all of that, something that we have inherently, but we have to show it all the time, and we have to make sure that we're proving ourselves. A man might do that actually, just naturally. And so you're thinking like, how does he do that? How is he able to, get this, this advancement, this position? And I can't do that. So you learn from each other.
So when you're coming alongside these leaders and you're seeing, the differences between the two genders, and you're probably so acutely sensitive to them because you've just seen so much of it. And when you're coming alongside these leaders then, do you ever see them and think, I wish that you learned this sooner?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, because it's like anything else. We're constantly learning, we're constantly growing. If I would have learned some of these things earlier, it would have been like, well, I should take that back. If I learned this much earlier, nobody would have listened to me, But, excuse me, but you try to make sure that what you're doing makes sense for where you are. Whether it's your business, whether it's your home life, it has to be something that makes sense. For me to go in and say to a man who is very successful, you're not communicating well. That would be ridiculous, because he obviously is doing something right.
Right.
But maybe there's a difference. Maybe there's something, have you ever thought of? Did you ever try this? Because there's plenty of men. A perfect example, financial services. So you have a male advisor, and a couple goes in, he talks directly to the husband because he's the breadwinner. Doesn't ever talk to the wife. Doesn't even ask her opinion. Maybe says hello, or you look cute today, or something ridiculous, but doesn't do anything about the business end of it, right? I still get calls from people, male producers, male advisors, that'll say, I lost another one today. I don't even have to go any further. I know exactly what happened. The man is no longer in the picture for whatever reason. She has no relationship, and she finds somebody else. There's a perfect example of something that is not taught in school. It's not taught in training. And I try to make sure that both men and women understand how to talk to each other. And that's, if you do it once and you lose it, do you think that it's a lesson?
Now, I know you don't work with children, but you do have children of your own. And I think adults are just, bigger children. So what tips would you give to parents that you want to, share with them some leadership concepts, some priority concepts? How can we start shoring our kids up now so that they can have a sensitivity to their priorities, or maybe even a sensitivity and awareness of what their skills are as compared to their peers, and not a I'm better, you're better type of thing, but just an awareness of those. Do you have tips for parents?
I would say more for parents of children that are open and willing to learn, because sometimes you're trying to teach your children things that they just don't understand why you're trying to do this. But the truth of the matter is that little boys and little girls still have those stereotypical gender roles, which we shouldn't have anymore. We really shouldn't, because girls can do almost anything boys can do, boys can do almost everything girls can do. And I think you have to encourage creativity. When you encourage creativity, there's a lot of different lessons that are learned. You're letting somebody's brain just take a magic carpet ride and say, wow, this is really cool, I could do this. I want to be, an astronaut. And when I was growing up, that would be absurd, because a girl would never be an astronaut. But I also, that, I've worked on the point system. And I encourage, like what you're doing right now with your book is brilliant, because I did it for myself as an adult. I didn't have anybody to teach me the differences between how men do it and how women do it. I had to come up with my own ideas of how to get more business, how to be more relational, things like that, that I had to teach myself. There wasn't any, there's no course in that. There wasn't any. So I just did my own thing and motivated myself. So when I read your book, your manuscript, I'm thinking, this is like me growing up. Because it makes sense. You encourage people to do the right things. You encourage people to do things that are positive. And that's what I think that parents should be teaching their kids. Understand how to do positive things with the choices that you make.
And I think how much more of an advantage you have when you already had that intrinsic motivation to succeed on your own. It's so powerful. I wish there was a way that we could really make sure that we teach that or help kids discover that in themselves.
It's something that, the parents have to learn. So if you can teach the parents how to teach their children, because that's what I taught my children. I taught them that you go for, whatever it is that you're looking to do and figure out what the goal is and figure out what the expectations are from everybody else and work your way backwards. If you knew that you wanted to buy X, Y, and Z, what did you need? When my kids were growing up and they were learning how to drive, they had to buy their car. They had to buy their car. I mean, that's how it was. And so they worked. And so the more that they worked, the more positive reinforcement they got about what they were doing, but also about themselves, that they knew that they could take care of themselves. Not 100%, because that wasn't the journey for them, but I wanted to make sure that they knew that that was a big responsibility.
And you said the word goal, and it made me realize you're really setting their sights on something, so they have a clear vision of what they want, and then working backwards to find out what they need to do in order to get there. I think that's an incredible key to finding their intrinsic motivation.
And then you also know that when you start at the end and you work your way backwards, that big number that you need isn't so big when you're working it from here. Okay, I need to do this in 12 months, so I only need to do this every month, every week, every day, every hour, whatever it is. And I think that also helps them because they're looking at a big number and they're thinking, I can never do this.
Oh, right.
I can
The
never do
apathy.
this. Yeah. Yeah. So, it's worked for me. It's worked for my children. It's worked for so many, people that I've trained and I've done work with, because it's about priorities, it's about choices, it's about boundaries, it's about saying no, it's about saying yes, it's about all of these things. When you get all these things right, then what you need doesn't seem so far-fetched. It doesn't seem like, I can never do this, I can never be this, I can never get this, I can never have this.
Powerful. I am so grateful for your insight and your perspective. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.